Grand Admiral Thrawn, one of the most enigmatic and calculating figures in Star Wars, possesses a mindset that distinguishes him from any other character in the galaxy. His strategic brilliance, fascination with art and culture, and profound sense of duty make him both a formidable adversary and a fascinating study in leadership. Unlike most Imperials, Thrawn's goals extend beyond personal ambition or a desire for power. His actions are driven by a unique worldview and a pragmatic understanding of conflict that sets him apart from other leaders within the Empire. To understand Thrawn's mindset is to uncover a perspective rooted in logic, cultural insight, and a calculated dedication to preserving order, even when that order comes at a cost. One of the most defining aspects of Thrawn's mindset is his unwavering focus on strategy and analysis. Thrawn views warfare as a game of chess, with every move carefully considered, every consequence anticipated, and every opponent studied. His approach to military strategy is grounded in his belief that true victory comes not through brute force but through understanding one's enemy. Unlike many Imperial commanders who rely on overwhelming firepower or fear, Thrawn seeks to understand the motivations, strengths, and weaknesses of those he faces. This mindset allows him to adapt his strategies in ways that make him nearly unbeatable on the battlefield. Central to Thrawn's philosophy is his study of art, which he sees as a window into the soul of a culture. Thrawn's belief that understanding an enemy's art provides insight into their psychology and tactics is a cornerstone of his mindset. For him, art reveals the values, fears, and ambitions of a people, allowing him to predict how they will react in various situations. This approach is both unique and highly effective, as it gives him an edge over adversaries who underestimate the power of cultural understanding. By studying the art of his enemies, Thrawn gains a psychological advantage that he can exploit, making him a master of anticipation and manipulation. Thrawn's appreciation for art extends beyond mere tactical interest. It reveals a level of respect he holds for other cultures, even those he may ultimately oppose. Thrawn does not see his enemies as faceless obstacles to be crushed, but as complex beings whose motivations deserve to be understood. This is especially significant given his position within the Empire, an organization that generally devalues individuality and cultural diversity in favor of uniformity and control. Thrawn's willingness to respect the cultures of his adversaries, if only as a means to understand them, marks him as a more nuanced character, one who can see beyond the narrow authoritarian mindset of the Empire. However, Thrawn's commitment to understanding his enemies does not make him sentimental. He approaches war and strategy with a detached pragmatism that borders on ruthlessness. For Thrawn, the ends often justify the means, and he is willing to make sacrifices if they serve a larger purpose. This mindset is shaped by his loyalty not only to the Empire but to his people, the Chiss. Thrawn's ultimate goal is to protect the Chiss ascendancy, and he views his alliance with the Empire as a necessary step in achieving that aim. This dual allegiance adds depth to his character, as it shows that his loyalty to the Empire is not absolute but conditional, based on his belief that the Empire's stability will benefit his people. Thrawn's pragmatic worldview also influences his approach to leadership. Unlike many Imperial officers, who rule through fear and demand absolute obedience, Thrawn values competence and respects those who demonstrate skill and intelligence. He does not waste resources on displays of power or punish failure out of malice. Instead, he seeks to inspire loyalty and motivate his subordinates by recognizing their abilities and challenging them to excel. This mindset allows him to cultivate a more effective and loyal team, as those who serve under him understand that Thrawn values their contributions and will reward their competence. In contrast to the Empire's tendency to view rebellion as an irrational threat to be crushed, Thrawn sees insurgency as a complex phenomenon driven by specific cultural and ideological factors. He understands that rebellion cannot simply be eradicated through intimidation and violence. It must be addressed by identifying and exploiting the underlying motivations of the insurgents. This nuanced understanding allows Thrawn to approach rebellion not as a mindless problem but as a challenge to be dissected and analyzed. His goal is not to destroy for the sake of destruction but to bring about a lasting peace, even if it means suppressing those who oppose the Empire. Thrawn's mindset also reflects a certain moral ambiguity that sets him apart from the typical Imperial officer. While he operates within an authoritarian regime, his actions are often guided by a personal code that values order, stability, and the protection of his people. He is not driven by cruelty or blind loyalty to the Emperor, but by a calculated understanding of power and a belief that order is essential to prevent chaos. This perspective makes him both admirable and dangerous, as he can justify actions that may seem brutal if he believes they serve a greater purpose. This complex worldview places Thrawn in a unique position within the Empire. His methods and motivations are often at odds with the ruthless, authoritarian ideology of his superiors. Whereas figures like Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine view power as an end in itself, Thrawn sees power as a tool to achieve stability. He respects the chain of command and adheres to the Empire's structure, but he does so with a level of independence and intellectual curiosity that often sets him apart. This independence can create tension between him and other Imperial leaders, who view his approach as unorthodox and at times disloyal. At the core of Thrawn's mindset is his belief in the importance of knowledge. He views knowledge as the ultimate weapon, one that can be wielded more effectively than any fleet or army. Thrawn's pursuit of knowledge is relentless, and he is willing to spend months or even years studying an enemy's culture, tactics, and art to gain a strategic edge. This commitment to understanding and preparation is what makes Thrawn so formidable. He does not rely on luck or brute force, but on careful analysis and meticulous planning. Thrawn's commitment to knowledge and understanding places him at odds with many other figures within the Empire. His strategic patience and attention to detail are often misunderstood or dismissed by those who rely on immediate decisive shows of power. For Thrawn, however, the long game is far more rewarding. He sees conflict as a puzzle, one that can be solved through careful study and a deep comprehension of all moving parts. This mindset enables him to succeed where others fail, because he is willing to spend as much time as necessary analyzing his enemies and gathering intelligence before making his move. An essential aspect of Thrawn's mindset is his understanding that victory is not always achieved through direct confrontation. In his view, the true art of war lies in avoiding unnecessary conflict. Thrawn often seeks to demoralize or psychologically disarm his opponents, undermining their morale and causing them to doubt their own strategies. By the time he strikes, his enemies are often already weakened, having been psychologically and strategically outmaneuvered. This approach demonstrates Thrawn's commitment to efficiency and precision, a stark contrast to the Empire's typically brute force approach. One of Thrawn's most notable qualities is his adaptability. He understands that every situation is unique and that rigid adherence to a single strategy or doctrine can lead to failure. While other Imperial officers are often limited by their loyalty to the Empire's strict hierarchical structure, Thrawn's mindset allows him to think outside traditional methods. This adaptability is evident in his use of unconventional tactics, such as studying his enemy's art or utilizing psychological warfare. Thrawn is willing to adjust his plans and even take calculated risks if he believes it will yield a greater advantage, a quality that makes him both unpredictable and effective. Thrawn's mindset is further shaped by his cultural background as a member of the Chiss Ascendancy, a society with its own complex political structure and values. The Chiss are an isolated and insular people, deeply committed to their traditions and wary of outsiders. Thrawn's loyalty to the Chiss Ascendancy influences his actions within the Empire. He does not view the Empire as an end in itself, but as a means to an end, a powerful ally that can help safeguard the Chiss against external threats. This dual allegiance adds a layer of complexity to his motivations, as his loyalty to the Chiss often comes into conflict with his responsibilities within the Imperial hierarchy. This sense of dual loyalty reveals an important aspect of Thrawn's mindset. His sense of duty extends beyond personal ambition or allegiance to a single ruler. Unlike many Imperial officers who are driven by the desire for power or favor with the Emperor, Thrawn is guided by a responsibility to protect his people and prevent the chaos he sees as an inevitable result of disorder. He aligns himself with the Empire, not because he believes in its ideology, but because he views it as the best tool available to achieve his ultimate goal: stability in the galaxy, especially in the unknown regions, where the Chiss face constant threats from other dangerous civilizations. Thrawn's understanding of the unknown regions informs his view of the galaxy's political landscape. He recognizes that the chaos of the Outer Rim, the discontent among various species, and the disorder within the Senate are vulnerabilities that could be exploited by outside forces. For Thrawn, the Empire represents a stabilizing force, one that can bring order to the galaxy and, in doing so, protect the Chiss from potential threats. This pragmatic outlook allows him to justify actions that others might view as morally questionable, as he sees them as necessary steps in maintaining a fragile balance. A recurring theme in Thrawn's mindset is his awareness of the limitations of the Empire's philosophy. He is keenly aware of the weaknesses inherent in the Empire's reliance on fear and intimidation, and he often expresses frustration with the short-sightedness of his colleagues. Thrawn knows that ruling through fear creates resentment and breeds rebellion, but he accepts that he must work within the Empire's structure, using his unique skills to achieve results in a system that rarely values subtlety. His willingness to navigate these limitations speaks to his adaptability and his understanding that true strength lies in flexibility rather than rigid adherence to doctrine. Thrawn's approach to leadership is also indicative of his mindset. Unlike many high-ranking Imperials who demand unquestioning obedience and punish failure harshly, Thrawn values competence, initiative, and independent thinking among his subordinates. He encourages his officers to think critically and rewards those who demonstrate skill and creativity. This approach not only earns him the respect of his crew, but also fosters loyalty and a willingness to perform at their best. Thrawn's ability to inspire his team through respect and recognition contrasts sharply with the typical Imperial method of instilling fear, further setting him apart as a unique figure within the Empire. Thrawn's focus on efficiency and results over political maneuvering also influences his relationship with the Emperor. Palpatine values Thrawn's strategic brilliance and his ability to bring order to chaotic situations, but Thrawn's independence and unorthodox methods often make him a contentious figure within the Imperial hierarchy. Thrawn's loyalty to the Empire is pragmatic. He respects the Emperor's power but does not blindly follow Imperial ideology. His allegiance is conditional, based on the Empire's ability to help him achieve his goals, and he is willing to push boundaries if he believes it serves a greater purpose. This pragmatic approach is what makes Thrawn such a powerful asset to the Empire, but it also isolates him. Many of his colleagues view him with suspicion, recognizing that he operates under a different set of principles. Thrawn's mindset allows him to see beyond the immediate concerns of the Empire, to think on a galactic scale where stability and order are paramount. While other Imperials are motivated by personal ambition or ideological zeal, Thrawn sees himself as a guardian of order, willing to sacrifice short-term gains for the long-term stability of the galaxy. Thrawn's approach to alliances and negotiations also reflects his unique mindset. While many Imperials view alliances as a sign of weakness, Thrawn understands that cooperation can be an effective tool in achieving strategic objectives. He is willing to form alliances with unconventional partners if he believes it will strengthen his position or help him achieve a greater goal. This willingness to engage in diplomacy sets him apart from the Empire's standard approach, which often disregards the potential benefits of alliances in favor of dominance and control. Thrawn's nuanced view of power and cooperation reveals his understanding that alliances, like knowledge, are tools to be used wisely. Ultimately, Thrawn's mindset is defined by his relentless pursuit of order, his respect for knowledge, and his commitment to understanding his enemies. He is not motivated by a desire for personal power, but by a vision of a stable galaxy where conflict is minimized and civilizations can thrive without the constant threat of chaos. This vision places him in a unique position within the Empire, as he is both an outsider with his own agenda and one of its most valuable assets. Thrawn's mindset is a rare blend of pragmatism, intellect, and cultural insight, a combination that makes him one of the most formidable figures in the galaxy. In Thrawn's worldview, the Empire is not a perfect institution, but it is the best means available to achieve a stable and ordered galaxy. His willingness to work within its structure, despite its flaws, speaks to his adaptability and his commitment to his goals. Thrawn is willing to overlook the Empire's weaknesses, so long as it serves his broader vision. This pragmatic approach, however, does not mean that he is blind to the Empire's failings. Thrawn recognizes the dangers of over-reliance on fear and understands that true loyalty cannot be achieved through intimidation alone. His perspective is one of balance, recognizing the Empire's utility while remaining aware of its limitations. In summary, Thrawn's mindset is a product of his cultural background, his strategic brilliance, and his unwavering dedication to preserving order. He views conflict as a puzzle to be solved, one that requires patience, understanding, and a willingness to adapt. His respect for knowledge, his appreciation for art, and his loyalty to the Chiss set him apart from other Imperials, making him a unique figure whose actions are guided by a sense of duty rather than ambition. Thrawn's ultimate goal is not to conquer but to create a galaxy where chaos is minimized and stability can flourish, a vision that drives his every decision and shapes his approach to leadership. A crucial element of Thrawn's mindset is his ability to separate personal feelings from strategic necessities. In a galaxy where emotional motivations frequently drive conflict, Thrawn's detachment allows him to analyze situations with a clarity that few others possess. This detachment does not imply a lack of empathy, but rather a commitment to a broader vision that transcends individual desires or grudges. Thrawn's actions are governed by a long-term perspective that places the stability of the galaxy and the safety of the Chiss ascendancy above personal vendettas or emotional satisfaction. This approach makes him highly effective, but it also isolates him from others who cannot understand his dispassionate outlook. Thrawn's detachment also influences his relationship with failure. While other Imperial officers might punish failure harshly, often to make examples of their subordinates, Thrawn approaches mistakes as learning opportunities. For him, every failure is a chance to refine his understanding of a situation, to adapt and to improve. This willingness to learn from setbacks makes him more resilient and open to new ideas, qualities that allow him to outmaneuver adversaries who are restricted by rigid hierarchies and punitive measures. Thrawn's capacity to view errors as part of the strategic process rather than as obstacles to success contributes to his reputation as a nearly unbeatable tactician. However, this same detachment can make Thrawn appear ruthless. His commitment to order and stability can lead him to make morally questionable decisions if he believes they are necessary for the greater good. For Thrawn, achieving a stable galaxy is a noble goal, and he is willing to use any means to achieve it. This mindset aligns him with the Empire, which views order as an ultimate objective that justifies authoritarian control. But while the Empire often exercises its power without concern for those it harms, Thrawn's actions are guided by a logical calculation of risks and rewards rather than cruelty or malice. This makes him one of the more ethically complex figures within the Imperial ranks, a character who may not see himself as a villain, but as a protector willing to make difficult choices for the sake of stability. Thrawn's approach to strategy also reflects his background with the Chiss, a society that values patience and forethought. Unlike the Empire, which frequently seeks immediate results, the Chiss ascendancy operates with a more gradual, measured approach to conflict. Thrawn's experience within this culture has shaped his understanding of power, teaching him that true strength comes from anticipating future challenges rather than reacting to immediate threats. This mindset is evident in his approach to the rebellion. Instead of rushing to crush his opponents, he studies their tactics, their leadership, and their motivations, learning everything he can before making a decisive move. Thrawn's belief in the importance of patience extends to his understanding of loyalty and trust. Rather than demanding blind allegiance, he earns the loyalty of those under his command through respect and fairness. He recognizes that loyalty built on fear is fragile, easily broken when circumstances change. Instead, Thrawn cultivates genuine loyalty by treating his subordinates as valuable assets whose skills contribute to the success of his missions. This approach not only ensures a high level of morale among his crew, but also provides him with a team that is committed to his goals rather than simply following orders out of fear. Thrawn's view of loyalty as something earned rather than imposed is another factor that sets him apart from the traditional Imperial mindset. Thrawn's unique relationship with knowledge and information is another defining characteristic of his mindset. He believes that information is the key to victory, and he devotes considerable effort to gathering intelligence on his enemies. For Thrawn, knowledge is not merely a tool but the foundation of effective strategy. His study of art, culture, and psychology allows him to anticipate his opponent's moves, to predict their reactions, and to exploit their weaknesses. This approach is both methodical and intuitive, as Thrawn understands that knowledge must be applied with insight to be truly effective. His dedication to gathering information, even if it requires patience and subtlety, makes him an almost omniscient presence on the battlefield, capable of orchestrating complex maneuvers with precision. Thrawn's respect for knowledge also influences his approach to the Force, which he views with a mixture of fascination and skepticism. As a non-Force sensitive individual, Thrawn does not possess the supernatural abilities of the Jedi or the Sith, but he understands that the Force is a powerful influence on the galaxy. Rather than dismissing it as superstition, he approaches it as another aspect of his strategic calculations. Thrawn's interest in the Force is not driven by a desire to wield its power, but by his recognition of its impact on those who do. He studies the Jedi and the Sith not out of reverence, but as another means of understanding his opponents and predicting their behavior. In this respect, Thrawn's mindset contrasts sharply with the Sith ideology that often dominates the Empire. While Sith like Palpatine and Vader are consumed by their need for control and dominance, Thrawn's motivations are less personal and more focused on maintaining order. He does not seek to master the Force or to impose his will on others for the sake of power. Instead, he views power as a responsibility that must be wielded carefully and strategically. Thrawn's approach is one of balance, where power is a means to an end rather than an end in itself. This perspective makes him a valuable asset to the Empire, as he can operate outside the emotional and ideological conflicts that often consume his superiors. Thrawn's understanding of power also extends to his perception of the Empire's vulnerabilities. He is acutely aware that the Empire's reliance on fear and oppression creates instability. Thrawn's pragmatism allows him to see that ruling through terror only strengthens resistance, as it breeds resentment among those who feel oppressed. While he is committed to maintaining order, he recognizes that sustainable order requires more than coercion, it requires respect and understanding. This insight is one of the reasons he remains such an effective leader. He is able to inspire loyalty among his subordinates because they know he values their skills and respects their contributions. Another critical aspect of Thrawn's mindset is his sense of cultural respect, even for those he considers enemies. Thrawn's study of art is not merely a tactical tool but a window into the diverse perspectives of the galaxy. He views culture as a source of wisdom, one that reveals truths about the motivations and values of different civilizations. This respect for culture, combined with his appreciation for knowledge, allows him to operate in a galaxy filled with diverse species and beliefs without falling into the Empire's xenophobic tendencies. While many Imperials see aliens as inferior, Thrawn's approach is more inclusive. He does not discriminate based on race or species, he judges others solely by their skills and contributions. This cultural awareness also extends to his view of rebellion and insurgency. Thrawn understands that insurgency is often rooted in legitimate grievances, and that simply crushing a rebellion does not address the underlying issues. His willingness to study his enemies, to understand their reasons for resisting, enables him to create strategies that are not just effective, but targeted to prevent further resistance. Thrawn's approach to rebellion is grounded in his belief that order cannot be achieved through suppression alone. It must be built on a foundation of understanding and respect. This pragmatic outlook distinguishes him from other Imperials who rely solely on force, making him both a feared and respected adversary. Thrawn's mindset is ultimately shaped by his belief in the power of order. He views chaos as the greatest threat to the galaxy, and he sees himself as a guardian against that chaos. His dedication to order is not about personal gain, but about creating a stable galaxy where civilizations can thrive. This vision gives him a purpose that transcends individual conflicts, making him one of the few Imperial officers who operates with a clear, long-term goal. Thrawn's commitment to order is both his greatest strength and his most defining characteristic, as it drives him to make sacrifices and pursue alliances that others might consider risky or unorthodox. In the end, Thrawn's mindset can be summarized as a blend of strategic genius, cultural insight, and pragmatic ethics. His actions are guided not by ambition but by a sense of duty to protect the galaxy from disorder. His respect for knowledge, his appreciation for art, and his commitment to understanding his enemies make him one of the most formidable figures in the Star Wars universe. Thrawn's mindset is a rare combination of intellect, patience, and moral ambiguity, a worldview that allows him to navigate the complex political landscape of the Empire while pursuing his own vision of a stable galaxy. As we delve into the final aspects of Thrawn's mindset, his approach to loyalty and personal sacrifice emerges as a defining theme. Unlike most Imperial leaders who view loyalty as a transactional relationship based on rewards or fear, Thrawn values loyalty as an essential part of an effective and cohesive command structure. His loyalty to the Empire, though conditional, is rooted in a genuine belief that the stability it offers is essential for galactic peace. Yet, his primary allegiance remains with the Chiss ascendancy, a loyalty that often transcends his role in the Empire. For Thrawn, the Empire is a means to an end, a tool to protect his people from the threats lurking in the unknown regions. Thrawn's dual loyalty adds a layer of complexity to his character, as it forces him to balance his duties to the Empire with his responsibilities to the Chiss. This delicate balancing act shapes his every decision, as he knows that any misstep could jeopardize the fragile relationship between the two factions. Thrawn's commitment to the Chiss influences his strategic decisions, as he often prioritizes actions that serve the Ascendancy's interests. However, He is careful to mask these intentions under the guise of loyalty to the Empire, navigating the political landscape with a tact and subtlety that only someone of his intelligence could maintain. Another fundamental aspect of Thrawn's mindset is his relationship with his own limitations. Unlike many Imperials who see themselves as infallible, Thrawn is acutely aware of his own vulnerabilities. He acknowledges that his lack of Force sensitivity places him at a disadvantage against Jedi and Sith, and he compensates for this limitation by cultivating an almost encyclopedic knowledge of the Force. His respect for the Force, though practical, reveals his humility, an uncommon trait among the Empire's elite. Thrawn's understanding of his limitations does not weaken him, rather, it strengthens his resolve, as he continually seeks knowledge and insights that allow him to overcome these limitations. Thrawn's acknowledgement of his weaknesses also influences his approach to leadership. He is not afraid to rely on others to compensate for his shortcomings, and he actively seeks out individuals with skills that complement his own. This self-awareness enables him to assemble highly effective teams, as he recognizes that a true leader is not one who tries to do everything alone, but one who understands the importance of collaboration. Thrawn's willingness to defer to others when necessary sets him apart from the typical Imperial officer, whose ego often blinds them to the value of teamwork. For Thrawn, leadership is about harnessing the potential of those around him, maximizing their strengths to achieve a common goal. Thrawn's strategic genius also extends to his understanding of risk. Unlike many Imperials who view caution as a sign of weakness, Thrawn sees risk as an essential component of effective strategy. He is willing to take calculated risks if he believes the potential rewards justify them. This willingness to embrace risk demonstrates Thrawn's confidence in his abilities and his trust in his own judgment. However, his risks are always calculated. He never acts impulsively or recklessly. Thrawn's approach to risk is measured and deliberate, reflecting his belief that true victory often requires boldness tempered by wisdom. Despite his many strengths, Thrawn's mindset is not without its flaws. His commitment to order and stability can lead him to make morally ambiguous decisions, justifying actions that may seem ruthless if he believes they serve a greater purpose. This pragmatic approach to ethics reflects his belief that the ends justify the means, a perspective that can make him appear callous or unfeeling. Thrawn's detachment allows him to make difficult decisions without hesitation, but it also isolates him from others, as his subordinates often struggle to understand his motivations. This isolation can be a weakness, as it prevents him from forming the kind of personal connections that foster loyalty based on mutual respect and trust. Another potential flaw in Thrawn's mindset is his reliance on predictability. His method of analyzing opponents through their culture and art assumes that individuals and groups behave in predictable ways based on their values and traditions. While this approach is often effective, it can leave him vulnerable to opponents who defy conventional expectations. Thrawn's reliance on cultural analysis, while insightful, can sometimes cause him to underestimate the unpredictability of human behavior. His inability to account for the chaotic and irrational aspects of conflict reveals a blind spot in his strategic thinking, one that his adversaries can exploit if they are aware of it. Thrawn's respect for culture and tradition also influences his approach to honor. He believes that respect for one's adversary is an essential part of warfare, and he often treats his enemies with a level of respect that is unusual for an Imperial officer. This respect for honor, however, can make him vulnerable to opponents who do not share his values. Thrawn's adherence to his personal code of ethics sometimes prevents him from seeing the ruthlessness of those around him, a limitation that can be exploited by figures like Palpatine, who value power above all else. While Thrawn's respect for honor is admirable, it can also be a liability in an environment where honor is often disregarded in favor of ambition. Despite these potential weaknesses, Thrawn's mindset remains one of the most formidable in the galaxy. His ability to see beyond the immediate, to understand the larger picture, allows him to operate with a level of foresight that few can match. Thrawn is a master of adaptation, a strategist who understands that victory is not always achieved through force but through patience, understanding, and precision. His ability to analyze, adapt, and execute complex strategies makes him an invaluable asset to the Empire, even as his personal goals sometimes conflict with Imperial doctrine. In the end, Thrawn's mindset is defined by a balance of intellect, pragmatism, and a sense of duty that transcends personal ambition. His commitment to order, his respect for knowledge, and his dedication to protecting his people make him one of the most complex characters in Star Wars. Thrawn is not driven by hatred or cruelty. He is a man with a vision of a galaxy where chaos is minimized and civilizations can thrive. His approach to power is one of responsibility, and his every action is guided by a belief that order must be preserved, even at great cost. Thrawn's legacy is one of both admiration and fear. To his allies, he is a leader of unparalleled brilliance, a figure who commands respect through competence rather than fear. To his enemies, he is a nearly unstoppable force, a strategist who can outthink and outmaneuver them at every turn. His mindset, a rare combination of cultural insight, strategic genius, and ethical pragmatism, allows him to navigate the complexities of a galaxy at war with an understanding and vision that few can match. Thrawn's story serves as a reminder that power, when wielded with intelligence and restraint, can be a force for stability even in the darkest of times.